All right, welcome back to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast. We're glad you're here. We got a really fascinating guest on today. For over 25 years, Dr. Len Lopez has been helping people learn how to eat right and train smart. In the last couple of years, he expanded his reach and is now also helping them think better, dream better, and give thanks. Dr. Len is the creator of 5 Steps a Day, a unique tool that you can use as an app, a calendar, or a journal to improve your habits and attitude by tracking how you feed your body, mind, and spirit. And Doctor will be he'll be the first one to tell you that this is not rocket science. It's all about feedback and accountability. And the best part I think of it is in less than 2 minutes, you can track and see if you're doing the right things that will make you healthy, wealthy, and wise, or at least get you to be bigger, better, and bolder. Dr. Lim has even gone on to create a teen version of the 5 steps, and the steps are the same, but a little bit different. So let's learn about the 5 steps with Dr. Len Lopez. Doc, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here.
Hey Pat, thank you for that nice introduction and everything. I'm glad to be here.
Uh, So tell us a little bit about your background, because you and I think we're kind of in that same age group. We're a little bit older generation. What got you into developing this 5 steps, and what kind of impact is it having on adults and teens?
Well, I'm glad you say older instead of old because I'm the older guy with younger kids and everything. And, 5 steps has been something I created years ago because for the last 20, 25, 30 years now, I've been helping people learn, eat right and train smart. My background is a nutritionist, chiropractic sports physician, strength and conditioning coach. So people were coming to me to look better and feel better. And as I started working with them and for all those years, they would be talking, you become closer acquainted, for lack of a better word, when you're sitting there talking to them, and they start sharing more information. And I could tell that some of their struggles, besides being uh, health and fitness related, were other issues, right? But I knew I was trying to stay in my lane of the health and fitness as opposed to get into some of the counseling aspects, for lack of a better term. And then one day it just finally snapped to me. Just had I used to call it action steps, but the acronym, the word steps, for those who don't know, it's just an acronym for sleep, think, eat, physical, and spirit. And all we're trying to do is track how well you feed body, mind, and spirit, because a lot of people don't realize that they just simply assume that they are doing good in one area, but they're really not. And so it's just a simple way to track, are you feeding body? Are you feeding mind? Are you feeding spirit, to make yourself, as I say, bigger, better, bolder?
That's awesome. My 30-year career in law enforcement, and 13 of it was spent on midnights. And what a struggle the eating right, sleeping right, and uh, you know, getting keeping physically fit is such a struggle. And a lot of our listeners come out of the law enforcement world or come out of very high stress, which I say, driven, fast paced
Right.
uh, lives and careers. So how can a guy, a 30-something-year-old guy that's been a cop for maybe 10 years or something, they're on midnights, their sleep habits suck because of the work schedules they're on. Some of them are on 8-hour days, some of them are 10-hour days. I was on 12-hour days, 8 at night to 8 in the morning for like 3 years.
Right.
How can the 5 steps? How can you incorporate that to get that healthier? Because if your sleep sucks, then everything else is going to suck. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But let me tell you what 5 steps it's not, because just kind of maybe look at it from a different lens here. We're not trying to make you perfect, because I've seen a lot of diet books, and not to beat up authors of diet books, but sometimes they are so stringent that, and for a lot of my patients over the years, they would do good on their new diet for the first 2 days, 5 days, 8 days. Then they kind of fall off the wagon
Mhm.
and they never get back on the wagon. All we're trying to do is just like the word, the P, the letter P in the steps. Did you do anything physical today? I'm not asking you if it was a full workout, half workout, aerobic, anaerobic workout, but did you carve out some time in your day to do something physical? It may be a 5 or 10 minute workout because you didn't have time to do anything today. Maybe you just cut the grass. Maybe you walked to the grocery store to grab some stuff that you needed. Maybe you myself, I'm going to be traveling in a couple of days and I'm not going to get a chance to do what I like to do is for a workout. So my workout will be the 25-minute walk from my car with the 20-pound backpack to the front and to the gate agents and everything back, twice there and back when I go and come back. So, did you do anything physical? We're not trying to put you on a stringent program because everybody's on a different playing field right now. But did you do anything physical? And all you're going to do is just kind of shade in that P for, hey, I did something today. And the physical part, Pat, I think you'll understand this, is that it's different than the sleep and the think part and the eat part because those you do every day. But the physical, you may not do it every day, but when you can you get something physical into your daily activity? Because there's something about whether it's that adrenaline rush you get, just feeling that you did something for yourself.
Mhm.
It's helpful. And so, that we're just trying to get you start doing more things that are going to help improve body, mind, and spirit.
That, that and one of the things, and I try to do exactly what you say every day, but when you are traveling, and you and I are both, I'm on the road 15, 20 weeks of the year, doing training and stuff around the
Right.
country, and it is difficult in that physical fitness arena to if you're so used to having a regimen, oh, I can go to 24-hour fitness, or I can go here, or I can go there, until you're out in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Uh, you know, yeah, I'm cracking on you on the Texas part, but some of the places I go, it's a dot on the map, and they're sponsoring a training that's bringing in, cops from all over the place,
Right.
but it's not a big metropolitan area, or you're staying in a hotel and you're like, you can only eat hotel food so much, and then you go down to the workout room, and half the stuff's broken or whatever. So I have found, and I'm not an advocate of the 10,000 steps because then you go, oh, man, I only got 6,500 steps in today. You look at your app and you feel like a failure. When in reality, hey, you put in a mile and a half just walking.
You,
Um, that
you
that's something you're talking about is impactful.
Yeah, you did something. Does it have to be a full perfect workout? It's kind of like when it comes to the letter E, the eat. Did I eat right today? We're not counting calories. And again, everybody's starting from a different starting point. So it doesn't have to be organic. It doesn't have to be grass fed because we're all, for some people, just not having that second serving is a step in the right direction.
Mm.
Maybe not having dessert is a step in the right direction. But did you eat better? And please understand, most people typically have 3 meals a day. Somehow they get 3 bites at the apple in that day. And I'm not saying every meal has to be perfect, but think of it this way, guy. Did I have a decent breakfast? Did I have a decent lunch? Maybe dinner time, I went out with my friends. Maybe you were traveling for work and everything, and you went out with the guys, other gals, and everything. You had the desserts and you had the extra beverage and everything, and it wasn't the greatest meal, but hey, you had a decent breakfast, a decent lunch. 2 steps forward, 1 step backward has you moving in the right direction. And I say it that way because with my patients for the longest time, I would think about, I would scratch my head. How do I get them to start eating better, right? Because that's what they were coming in to see me for, right? And I would think, listen, next week when I see you, you're going to have an opportunity to take 21 steps to better health. 21, three meals a day, 7 days a week, 21 steps. I didn't expect them to take 21 perfect steps. But I did expect them to have maybe 16 or 17 good meals, maybe 3 or 4 bad meals, just because that's human nature here.
Yeah.
And so, again, you want to just take more forward than back. It's kind of like, accountability. You want to earn more than you spend, and so that's what we're trying to do. Did you eat better today? I always say home runs are great, but you can still win with base hits, right?
Yeah. That's funny you say that because when I was a baseball coach, for my kids, and I would always have some 12-year-old that would point to the fence and all that, and I'm like, no, if we put together 15 singles, how many runs are we going to score? You know,
Right.
but if we only get one home run, there's nobody on base. Yeah, and so on that accountability, because we're coming in, into a new year, and everybody makes those New Year's resolutions,
Right.
uh, and your practice probably increases. And how do people have that self accountability that they may not have a doctor they can see on a regular basis, or whatever it is? How do you create that self accountability in each one of these areas?
Well, that's a great question. And to go back what you were saying, 10,000 steps. Everybody was tracking using their watch or some other mode to track, did they get
Yeah.
10,000 steps? I know my wife she's pretty adamant about, making sure she moved her body and everything. And again, all we're just trying to do, it's accountability and feedback. You get to decide what you want to do with the feedback. But as I try to teach, I'm the older guy with young kids, that soon enough you're going to be responsible for your decisions. Once you leave my house and not underneath my checkbook anymore. And so, who are you going to blame if you're not A, B, or C? If you don't reach these goals, you can't blame others. You have to look at what you're doing for yourself. And so when I see pay people come in, I can't eat right. I don't know what it is. Well, you're the one who's putting stuff in the shopping cart into your refrigerator. And if you're going to sit and wonder why your kids are struggling sometimes, maybe because you're allowing them to force you to buy more of the stuff you really know is not good for them. And I say that because being the older guy, not the old guy, the older guy with young kids, my kids are always telling me, Dad, we have like the worst food here. And I go, what do you? And I go, well, okay. Then they'll clarify and say, we had nothing good to snack on. When I go to my friend's house, they have all this other
Yeah.
good junky food, and we just don't have a whole lot of that there, except ice cream. I'm a big
Yeah.
ice cream fan, so that's my weak spot. But it's like, once you're old enough to pay the bills and contribute that way, then you can decide what you want to put in the refrigerator to put in the shopping cart. But until then, you're underneath my roof, or me and mom's roof and everything, and we get to decide. But I know you're very well at this, Pat, and I'm sure a lot of your audience is, once you get past 18, 20, 25, you're on your own. It's you who's responsible for your
Hmm.
decisions, and you get to decide what you put in the refrigerator. And if you keep squawking about maybe how bad a shape you're in, or that you're 20 pounds overweight, well, are you doing anything? Are you just wishing for the magic genie to help you? Or do you need to take some accountability for yourself and take some action on yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, it's kind of similar because I don't have an app or a calendar or uh, things like that. But I have found when I do the training on leadership
Mhm.
is at the end of it, and I kind of base it. Uh, what's the song is Dear Younger Me. I think it's by Mercy Me. And
Okay.
yeah, what you would tell your younger self, that concept, and I kind of reverse engineered it, and to have that self accountability because you get pumped up, that you get a great message, you went to a great seminar, you listened to a great podcast, and you're excited. The New Year's here, man. I'm this is the year I'm gonna make these changes, physically, spiritually,
Right.
mentally, whatever it is, and you may make it to February, and so what I have found, and I want to see if if your app and your approach it might have some sort of same site type of concept. But in the training, I at the end of it on the last day, it's usually a 3 day leadership class. Is I tell them take out a piece of paper and write down three goals, objectives you're going to achieve in the next 6 months. Not try to reach, but okay, I am I'm these are actionable goals, and I'm in the next 6 months I'm going to complete them, and
Right.
write those down. Then write down what are you going to do to celebrate reaching those goals, because psychologically,
Right.
physiologically, attaboys are a good thing. That
Right.
it encourages us to be successful, and that we acknowledge it, because so many cops go, "Hey, I was just doing my job." When somebody compliments them, well, now you're doing more, and you should celebrate and let other people celebrate with you
Right.
those achievements. And then the last thing I tell them to do is write down, if you died tomorrow, I want you to write down your life sentence. And here's what I mean by that is, what are people going to say about you in one sentence at your funeral tomorrow? And that one sentence is going to be how they remember your life. Well, what do you want them to say? Write that down. And it may be like in your arena, well, I want to be bigger, better, and bolder
Right.
in these areas, and be specific about it. And then here's the dear younger me part of it. I tell them, put it in an envelope, seal it, write down the address on the envelope where you want this letter from you to arrive in 6 months. And I go, don't put a return address up in the left hand corner. I'm going to put my address. I'm going to stamp it. Seal those, tape them if you want. I'm not going to read them. And I tell them, if you put a blank piece of paper in there, I guarantee you will achieve 100% of nothing, because that's you put nothing. And then in 6 months, I'm going to mail these letters. I'm going to pay the postage for it, and I'm going to mail these letters to you. And that's my way of, at least for 6 months, holding somebody
Yes.
themselves account. It's them holding themselves accountable. So is your program kind of mirror something like how can you? I don't know, it's the word I want to say.
Incorporate it.
Yeah, or because if they never come back to you, you don't get to Paul Harvey. You don't get the rest of the story. You don't know how they're doing.
Right. Right.
So what is that self accountable mechanism that you can suggest to people to use, whether you're using it or not,
Well,
but that you've found successful?
here's what I'm going to say, because hearing what you were telling me right now, it was like part of me was listening to you. The other part was, how am I going to steal this idea? Because I really dug the idea and everything. No, that was this beautiful thing, because what you're doing is you're putting a map for them to figure out where they want to go. And I think that's just so important, because not just, and I mean, let me say this way, it's important for body, mind, and spirit, because let's just talk about just traveling. I mean, if when you sit here and write out where you want to be in 6 months as you're proposing and everything, you give the subconscious mind and the conscious mind some direction of where you want to go. And I think a lot of problem people have come across over the years, as I've been reading, is that a lot of people, young and older, okay, those that are under 18 or 21, those that are older, over that number, is that they really don't know where they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're not sure. But when you have a destination in mind, kind of like a sailor, if you know where you're sailing to, you can fight through when the wind's, in your face and everything. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they just wake up and go to bed, wake up and go to bed. And they're like in that movie, that Lego movie. If you ever saw the movie or not, if you have grandkids, they might have drug you to that movie. I'm the older guy with young kids, so I got to see it. And it's just all the little guys marching. They're just little robots
Yeah.
going to the office, to the factory workers, back home. They don't do anything for themselves. And so what, but by doing what you're doing, writing it down, what you want to do, be in 6 months, you're giving your cells, your body something to shoot for. You're giving it a map of where it wants to go. Now, whether you pursue it, and maybe that's when you need a good kick in the rear to make sure you're
Mm.
doing what you need to be doing. But it's a reminder. It's for those that are in the self help world, I guess it's kind of like the vision board. Write down where you want to go. Where do you want to go vacation in 6 months? Where do you want to be in your weight loss goals? Where do you want to be professionally? I want to be in that. I want to have that corner office. I want to meet the president of the company. I want to get, when I go up on stage next week or next month and everything, I want to be the one that gives this great speech to everybody. I want to hear the applause. And so by doing what you're saying, you're giving yourself, that every cell in your body, some direction for it to go to. And that's kind of what the sleep step is all about. The first two steps are sleep and think, right? And the think is, I think everybody can understand, what kind of thoughts do you feed your mind? Do you tell yourself, I can, I will, I'm able to, or just like, I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe not. And a lot of people have more of that attitude of just kind of, I don't know, as opposed to guys that are, this is what I want, this is where I want to go. And if you look at athletes and people in the arts world, they, if you're a musician, a singer, they know where they want to be. If you're an athlete, whether you're young or old, you want to be on top of the podium at the end of the season, holding the Super Bowl, the Major League Baseball, whatever it is for you. And same with the performer, you want to see yourself getting the award, all the applause out there. It gives you something to dream about and see. Unfortunately, for those who aren't in those two worlds, it's a little bit harder to get that mental picture of where you want to go. But if you can figure out, hey, I want to be, in the military and the police force, hey, I want to be the captain, I want to be the sergeant, I want to. Do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself wanting to go? And as long as you know where you want to go, I always like the equation. We've all heard of the proverbial land of milk and honey, right?
Yeah.
What is your proverbial land of milk and honey? If you don't know where your land of milk and honey is, don't complain if you arrive at the land of headaches and heartaches. And that's what happens out there, Pat. People don't know where they want to go. And so they get veered this way, then something pulls them the other way, then something pulls them again in a different direction. But if you know where you're going, you're, as a sailor, that's your destination. When the
Yeah.
wind's in your face, you're still going to keep going there. But when the wind's at your back, man, you can really make strides. And so I applaud you for getting them to do that, because that's a great exercise to help people get some perspective if they've never heard that before.
Yeah. No, that you're absolutely right. And one of the things I think you really kind of hit on there is uh, that it is a personal decision, and and I love how you use the word attitude, because the psychology, or really it's not even psychology; it's just human nature that everything begins with the thought.
Right,
And then thoughts become attitudes, because an attitude is a settled way of thinking. It's kind of like when you're growing up and your first time your mom puts peas, on the dinner plate, and you go, I'm not going to eat those. I don't like them. Well, you haven't tried them. Well, I know I don't like them. And then we
right,
go, you have a bad attitude, you know, and so and the progression of all this to really put it down, I mean, to the lowest level is your attitudes, or you display your attitude in your behavior.
right,
I can't read your mind, but I can go, oh man, the way you're talking, the way you're acting is telling me what's going on up here.
right,
And then those repeated behaviors become habits, and then your habits become the culture, what you expect and accept from yourself and others around you. And if you take what you're talking about, it's that linear line of, if you control in a positive way how you think, then that then that's going to be the attitude. Like you said, the athlete that is driven and their attitude is, I want to win. The danger, I think, though, and you've probably seen this, is that you and I were raised with this philosophy: if you want it done right, do it yourself. And then that makes us very egocentric, and we don't incorporate other people. We don't delegate as a leader. You don't delegate because you're afraid of failure. All those kinds of things. In your personal health and wellness, it's the same thing. Is
Right.
you can't do it by yourself
Right.
because you will hit roadblocks and you will not have a system in place of how to help you get over this particular obstacle. And so
Well,
the danger then is then you just go, because this is the other thing that people repeat, it is what it is. Well, that's then you're surrendering, and that you've lost control and lost power in your life. So I think your your energy, your philosophy. Tell us about the actual product, if you will, the app or the
okay.
calendar. I mean, how do people actually do this?
Well, there's a couple of different ways you can use the calendar, which is the way I first came up with the idea about 20 years ago by just putting notations on the calendar. And there's a calendar that we have that allows you to kind of shade in the footsteps of your action. But I want to say one thing that we were just talking about, the habits and attitude. That's what, habits and attitude are like your DNA. It's your genetic code, right? We know if you trace your DNA back, you can track, you can figure out where you came from, right? Well, the same is true with your habits and attitude. If you trace back your DNA, your habits and attitude, you may find that some of your accomplishments, some of your achievements, when you look at the habits and attitude that got you there, you can go, hey, yeah, I was doing the stuff that was going to help make me bigger, better, bolder. But by the same token, if you trace back your habits and attitude, and you may find that you hit those difficult, challenging times, and you look at your habits and attitudes, you may find that, hey, maybe I was on social media too much. I was playing too much video games. I was watching too many, binge watching too much TV. I wasn't doing, and things that help me become bigger, better, bolder. And so it all comes back to, as I try to teach my kids now, hey, you're the one who's responsible for all this stuff. You get to decide, are you gonna watch 3 hours of TV in every football game, every video game, and every cat video, or do you need to budget some of that time and do some of the stuff that's going to make you more competitive in this arena or that? And so it comes back down to doing, what do you want? Do you know what you want? And once you know what you want, you can really start making strides to there. But let me also add, if I'll say one thing, because I know there's a lot of people that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s still, because I know that from people I've chatted with, that they're not sure why they are where they're at. I can't help you figure out where you want to go. You have to figure that out. Once you know where it is you want to go, then you can start making strides. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, they've allowed distractions that never allow them to focus on where they want to go, what they want to achieve, where they want to be in life.
Yeah. And that path of least resistance, you know what we call that? We call that the lazy river ride. It's
Oh,
like going to the theme park, and you get on whatever, uh, and you just let the current take you wherever it's going to take you, and because it is what it is, and where do you end up at? Right where you started,
yeah,
which is nowhere. You didn't do anything or achieve anything, and if you take that lazy river ride through life, then when you are 40 or 45 or 50, you start going, I wish I had,
right.
and all the regrets and everything. So,
Hey, I'm gonna have
but
to steal that. Also, one more thing. I'm gonna steal from. Maybe you can edit that part out. But
no,
yeah, I love that. That's such a great description.
well, and I guess because what you and I've been through, as far as careers and living life, these are lessons that have taken us decades to learn and to commit to the habits, because we have that perspective. And I think intentional living is one of the hardest things young people have to deal with, is because they don't have a past and a history. And when it's mom and dad, trying to, guide them and whatnot, their reaction is, hey, you don't know what it's like to be a teenager, or you don't know what it's like to be, in high school or struggling in college or whatever. And we're just the wrong messenger. It's not our messages wrong. We're just not the right messenger sometimes for our kids.
Yeah, they don't
Uh,
want to hear from us, not yet. It's kind of what does Mark Twain say when he wrote? He said, how did when I was 14 years old, my dad was the dumbest person I can imagine. I mean, I can't think. He goes, how did he get so smart? Because when I turned 21, he knew everything.
one of when your kids get older, it will be when you have grandkids and you're watching your kids or listening to them going, man, they really were listening to me when they were growing up, because they're saying the same thing, uh,
Right,
to their kids that we said to them.
right.
So, what if you had to pick one solid philosophy for people to kind of grab hold of, to get started, what would that be? What would that message be?
I learned this years ago in my profession. You are what you eat, and it goes further. You are what you think. What are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your body? What are you feeding your spirit? And I know we haven't touched on the spirit part here, but that's what it comes down to. Because right now, as I shared earlier, my kids think that we're like the worst cooks, and it's only because we don't have a bunch of junk food in our house. We have
Yeah.
our fair share, believe me, but not to sound like we're. But what are you putting in your body? What are you putting in your mind? And when are you going to take responsibility for that? I mean, when kids are younger, it's up to you to decide what goes in the shopping cart. Okay, as the parent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether you're going to sit there and say, no, no, we're not going to put all this other sugary stuff in there, this, that, and the other. We'll have some, but you can't have it all the time. Have all these not healthy, non-healthy foods out here. So it's just, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing to get where you want to go? If you want to get bigger and stronger, you need to exercise, right? You can't, if you're complaining that you have 12-inch biceps and you want 18-inch biceps, it's going to take you have to do something to make it happen. And the same thing, if your financial situation, if your career opportunities aren't there, your social life isn't where it wants to be, what are you doing to make it better?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be doing, you're the active participant. And that's the thing, sometimes people aren't. And 5 steps, Pat, is just a simple way for you to take account of yourself. And I'm a big fan, I'm sure a lot of people are, of the TV show Shark Tank. And I think they all say, show us the numbers. And all 5 steps is trying to do, guys, because every day you just kind of shade in one of the footsteps or all of the footsteps of your activity. If I ate right, shade in the E. Was I physical? Did I do anything physical? Shade in. Did I think better? Shade in the T. By the end of the day, you can see, hey, I took 3, I took 4, I took 5 steps forward. End of the week, you can see maybe 25, 30 steps you took
Mm-hmm.
forward. And then you scroll back the week before, oh, I only took 8 steps. Or I took 29 the week before. I got to keep it up there. So it's accountability and feedback. Are you doing what you need to be doing to get bigger, better, and bolder?
Yeah. Yeah. And uh, on the spiritual side, and this is for young people out there and for parents with young people. So there is, he was 15 years old. He died in 2006, born in 1991. And was born in France, raised in Milan, Italy. And he died of leukemia. But he was on the front end of the generation with the internet and technology, experience.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now a saint in the Catholic Church. He was Roman Catholic. His name's Carlo Acutis. I did an episode on him a few months back. And this was one of the things, and this is coming from a 15-year-old.
Right.
And and he knew he wasn't feeling well, that something was wrong, but his grandmother was also ill. and so he didn't complain or say anything, and it turned out he had advanced leukemia when they finally discovered how ill he was.
Right.
But here's what he said: "We're all born unique, but sadly, many of us die a photocopy."
Mm,
And so for young people especially, I think to find that very encouraging that a 15-year-old could have that insight. Did he know what he wanted to do for a living? You know, probably not. I don't know. I haven't studied him enough, but he did grasp from the spiritual side of things that God created every one of us as a unique individual for a purpose,
right.
for God's purpose. But sadly, many of us die a photocopy because we want to be like Mike. Remember, when Michael Jordan and it
Yeah.
was all this stuff of be like Mike or be like Tom Brady or be like somebody other than who you were created to be.
Mm,
And you see it now. It's sticking with the sports analogy, but for the last 4 or 5 years, it's like, oh, Patrick Mahomes, be like Mahomes. Oh well, guess what? There's now Bo Nix for Denver. There's this other, Josh Allen. There's
right.
all these other quarterbacks who have their gifts and talents, but everybody wanted to be like Patrick,
Right.
Mahomes. So talk to from your 5 steps. What are we've talked about the thinking and the eating and the sleeping and whatnot, but on a spiritual level, what kinds of things are you trying to influence and impact people to look at to be bigger, better, and bolder, in their faith life?
Right. Well, here's what I know. When it comes to, I used to look at it because my walk has gone full circle. Being a believer, leaving the church, coming back and being a bigger believer, right? And what I've learned is that I used to always find a way to find time to go exercise. I mean, I could
Mm-hmm.
always find time to exercise, and I could never find enough time to like open the book and read to learn because you gotta read, you gotta learn. But I couldn't figure out why. Then it finally hit me. Len, there's more than one way to exercise to get physically fit. I can run, I can swim, I can shoot hoops, I can dance, right? Well, there's more than one way to get in touch with your spiritual connection here. And so maybe you can't, this is back in the 80s. If I didn't have time to read that day, hey, I'm in the car. I can push an AM dial for those who still have them. You can push the AM dial. You might be able to hear a good broadcast from somebody today. You can pick up your phone, you can listen to a podcast, you can fellowship with others in your community out there. Are there other ways besides just opening the good book, which is a great way, right, to learn? But there's times when that doesn't work for you. There's good Christian music you can be listening to, and maybe that one song, there could be some words in there that just really touch your heart. And I say that because that's how it affected me. So, are you doing anything to help strengthen your spiritual connection? Because if I use that same analogy, I know if I just exercise once a week, twice a month, twice a year, I, I may not be in the best physical shape. And the same thing, if I only work my spiritual muscles once a week, twice a month, twice a year, what kind of spiritual strength do I have to fall on when those difficult times come? And they will come. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're talking about: body, mind, and spirit. What are you doing to support all three of those? It's kind of like a three-legged stool. There's no imbalance when you have a three-legged stool. You're going to find a balance out there. We just want to make sure that it's not that far out of balance. And I'll say this analogy: there could be those who are very fitness conscious, and this is just a generalization. Please don't. But there's that is just the muscle bound person, guy or girl, but they may not have a spiritual connection at all.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same reverse token, I learned this too. There can be those that are very strong in their spiritual walk, but they're not doing anything for their physical. They're 40 pounds overweight. So it's about getting all three of those in somewhat of a good line, a good balance for yourself, because the physical challenges are going to come, the mental challenges are going to come, the concerns that are going to touch your heart, that are going to from your spiritual connection. Do you have what it takes to help you in all those ordeals that are going to befall all of us?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I finally came up with one little solution for merging the spiritual and the physical at the same time. Is I try and go out at at least uh, 3 times a week. I try to do it 5 to 7 times a week. Is go out and take a 3 to 5 mile hike. But while I'm doing that, I always carry a rosary with me in my
Hmm.
pocket. Is because I live in the mountain area, so there's a lot of solitude when I say I'm out
Right,
walking or hiking, even if it's just road walking.
right.
Is I take that uh, 45 minutes to an hour, well, 20 minutes of it, I know that's how long it takes me to say an entire rosary. And I specifically pick some, the divine, the joyous mysteries, the sorrowful mysteries, and really meditate and think about those things. So I'm thinking, I'm exercising, and I'm praying at the same time, all in the same 45 minutes. And then once you start doing that and create that habit, at first it does seem like it's almost like an addiction of, well, gosh, man, I've gone a whole hour without checking emails on my
Right.
phone or something. So yeah, do you Jones a little bit for technology or what your old habit is? Yes, but then when you start seeing the positive results of, oh well, I lost a few pounds this week, and that, oh man, I feel more at peace and not shooting off my mouth, or getting angry at the news or something like that, because my spiritual life has been fed in a positive way.
Oh yeah, I
And
get a lot of those two for ones. Just exactly what you're saying. I'll get up in the morning, and it may be my aerobic workout. So a nice, good, crisp walk, and I'll have my earbuds on, and I may be listening to somebody's message out there. And so nourishing me spiritually. So I'm getting two steps at one time in that 30-minute walk I'm doing.
mm,
So but are you doing the thing? That's the thing. Everybody, when they think about it, they go, oh, maybe I'm not doing that. That's why uh, I like to use Seinfeld, and we've all heard of Jerry Seinfeld. He created a calendar years ago, and what he did was, when he realized that he needed to write 10 jokes a day in order to make him feel like that's what I need to do in order to become successful in this industry. And
yeah,
so he took a wall calendar, and he would write an X on each day that he did something positive. As far as doing those 10 jokes a day, he'd write a big red X on there. And then he realized that, hey, I don't want to break the chain, because there would be little blank spots when he didn't do anything. And it made him feel like, hey, it was accountability for him. But that's what he did. And that's kind of what 5 steps is. And when I shared this with a few other doctor friends of mine who are more the mind doctor than more instead of the physical doctor, but they were saying, Len, there's something about visually seeing those steps that further anchors into that subconscious mind, that gives you that little biochemical endorphin hit. So I think this is a really cool, like you said, you can shade in the steps in a minute, 2 minutes at the most, as far as did you do anything, and you can get a really quick read of what you did. And again, as I said before, habits and attitudes, like it's your genetic code. Are you doing the things that are going to help you get to where you want to be in life? Yay or nay? And if you're not, here's what you need to do, or you need to keep rubbing on that magic genie and hoping something happens. And so,
yeah, yeah. We've all been in a work environment where there was always that one person who had a miserable attitude. They were always complaining. They were always the critic. And then if you kind of sat back and really thought about it, or sit back now and think about it, how many other people in that work group started behaving the same way? That they
right.
started becoming a complainer and a critic, or they retired on duty. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to have self initiated activity, because they're gravitating towards um, that an anchor in a bad way kind of anchor that's taken them down in the depths of a miserable attitude. The flip side is if and we've shared this with other parents and stuff as we were because we got 45 years of marriage and 5 kids and a couple grands, and one of the things that we've learned is look at your kids and then look at their 5 closest friends.
Uh,
And if those 5 friends are mischievous little
right,
dirt bags, your kid's going to turn into a mischievous little dirt bag as well.
right,
And so that in the spiritual health arena, it's the same thing. If you're hanging around Judas all the time, guess what? You,
right, right.
you're going to be a Judas. But if you're hanging around somebody
Peter,
that, yeah, Peter, or even read the book of Job, and
right,
look at all the suffering and loss that he went through. He never blamed God, or he never asked God, "Why are you doing this?"
right.
type deal. That and then it was his. He was anchored in his faith. Even those 3 friends were trying to get him to, "Hey, what'd you do wrong that
Right.
God's punishing you for?" Well, that's spirit. That's the spiritual battle that we face every day, and we face it through human interaction. You know,
Yeah, well, the human interaction, and I think the mind, and I learned this several years back, as they say, researchers say that we process about 50,000 thoughts a day, and I thought that's crazy. But they found out that, according to researchers, they say that 80% of our thoughts are slanted negatively. And to quote the scriptures, they were the ones that first says, "A man is as a man thinketh." And so I mean, you can even go back in other the Hindu Buddhist tradition. They talk about the same thing. You are what you think. But here's the thing that was really fascinating: of the 50,000 thoughts we have a day, 80% of them are slanted negatively. So only maybe 20% of your thoughts, 22%, 23%, maybe on the positive side. Now, which isn't a great odds, right? But I like to use a baseball analogy again. It's, you go to bat, 7 times out of 10, you're not going to get on base, right? But
yeah.
if you can get on base, 30% of the time, you can make a pretty good living in the Major League Baseball. And it's the same way with your thinking. Are you 82, 84% of just a negative rehashing? I can't do it. No one likes me. Nothing's good. Everybody sucks and everything. As opposed to, hey, I can do it. I'm not. Are you doomed, dazed, and defeated? Are you bigger, better, bolder? You have to start adding a little bit here, a little bit here, and I'll make a testimony here. I remember when I first started learning all this stuff about 4 decades ago. That give you an idea how old I am. But it was, when I first read The Power of Positive Thinking. One of the first books that I ever read on this subject, and I've read many since then. But it was like, well, there's just too much God in this book at that time. I told you I went full circle. But one thing that I learned is that when I talk to other people, they'll go, "So, Doc, you're telling me I need to restate that phrase? I'm bigger, better, bolder a bazillion times a day." No, but you just got to take 1 or 2 minutes here, 1 or 2 minutes here, 1 or 2 minutes here, because those 1 or 2 minutes here, and here throughout the day is 1 or 2 minutes you're not kicking yourself in the rear, because 80% of the time you are kicking yourself in the rear about just something on the negative side, something on the
Hmm.
the less confident side. And so we just wanted to just put a little bit more frosting on that positive aspect by making you consciously aware that, hey, I feel good, I can do it, life is getting better, whatever phraseology you want to use. But you need to start peppering that into your psychology, because again, we are what we think. And so are you thinking 80, 85%, I can't do it, I'm not the right one, this is not my day, yada, yada, yada. You have to believe that you can make something happen, that how long will it take before it really starts moving the needle? I don't know. How long
Yeah.
is it going to take you to get from 12-inch biceps to 18-inch biceps? How much effort are you going to put into it? So we are a byproduct of what we think, what we eat, and how we feed our body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's kind of the Pareto principle, or uh, I just recently read squirrels. They hide
Squirrels.
they hide nuts, acorns,
Okay.
all and they are so busy burying acorns that when it comes time for the winter and they need to now eat them, they've been running around scatterbrained that they literally forget where 80% of the acorns they buried, where did they bury them? So now they're
Right.
running around trying to find that 20%. And that's that we live our lives that way is you're so busy trying to do so much
Right.
that when the struggles and the obstacles hit, we have no idea where to turn because we don't have a good foundation. And whether it's spiritually, physically, emotionally, psychologically, all those kinds of things. So,
Now I'm gonna
yeah.
push back on that just a hair. But
Okay.
what I mean by that is that we are more I think we are more distracted than we were years ago when you and I were back in the 60s and
Yeah.
70s. You know, there weren't as many things to distract you from. You know, midnight came around, TVs were off. There was no television after midnight. You could hear that
Yeah.
little whistle sound. And so, but nowadays, you know, I like to say when I always talk about what the downfall has been the invention of the light bulb. And I say that for this reason because when the light bulb was invented, now people are prior to the light bulb. When you watch Little House on the Prairie, Bonanza, nighttime came for those who don't know those shows back in the 60s and everything. When nightfall came, everybody just hunkered down, calmed down, and relaxed. Their body, their biorhythms got back in tune the way they're designed. But
Yeah.
now, when the light bulb was invented, people started working at 9 p.m., 10 p.m.,
Mm-hmm.
computers, cell phones, they're up till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night going. Their brains just constantly firing. And they go, oh, I got to get to bed. I need to go to bed. And how do you turn it off? How do you get all
Yeah.
that dopamine to calm down? It's hard. And it just throws the way our body is our design, it's thrown off.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are complaining about their difficulty sleeping, some of the other challenges that they're facing health-wise. A lot of it has to do, you can't fall asleep. That's why I joke about on the sleep step. Do you fall asleep with the remote control in your hand or your cell phone in your hand? And you let whatever thoughts that were in your head when you were watching whatever you were watching, do you let that just keep on recirculating in
Yeah.
your mind for the next 7 or 8 hours? Or do you, before falling asleep, to what we were talking about earlier, do you visualize, think about where it is you want to go? I want to be 30 pounds lighter. I can see the scale. I can see the new clothes I'm buying. I can see the cruise I'm taking. What kind of images are you putting in your mind? And so we have so many distractions now. And again, this phone, how many cat videos can you watch? How many shows can you binge watch to catch up with everybody out there? All the things that we didn't used to have that years ago. And so that is a huge, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's just a huge headache on, I think, not I guess humanity, but it's just working kind of against the way the body's designed, and we've let it carry us so far in one direction.
Oh, yep. It's C.S. Lewis's screw tape letters
Oh yeah,
actually gone full circle and coming true.
right.
Well, Dr. Lynn, how can people get a hold of you or learn more about the 5 steps? Or
Guys, just go. If you have Apple or Google, go down. You can download the app. It's free. Check it out. Try for a couple of weeks. See what you think. See if it doesn't help you. Just kind of track to see, are you doing what you need to be doing to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Okay, 5 steps a day. If you'd rather have the calendar, if you're more a paper and pencil person, you can order a calendar. You can get the journal, the weekly journal, where you can also write some notes in there by hand. But on the app itself, it's also a to-do list for not just the 5 steps to do, but just your other, get your laundry, get your car, get whatever you can add those little to-do lists in there as well. So it's not rocket science. Are you doing the thing that you need to be doing to help make yourself bigger, better, and bolder?
awesome. So that's and it's the number 5. So 5 steps with an S a
Yes,
day.com
correct,
is the website. So 5
correct.
steps a
5 steps a day.
day.com. Awesome. Any final parting uh, words you want to share?
It's like we were talking about. You are what you put in your mind, what you put in your body, what you put in your spirit. You have to ask yourself, who are you going to hold yourself accountable to? Because it's going to come back like a teenager. Once you get past a certain age, whose fault is it because you're not at where you want to be? Yeah, you could have had some bad luck here or there, but for most of everything, it's what are you doing to make yourself healthy, wealthy, and wise, or like I say, bigger, better, bolder.
Awesome. Dr. Len, man, what a great conversation we've had today. And for the listeners out there, absolutely jump on 5stepsaday.com, take a look at it, download it. It's free. And
Right.
share this with other people that need to hear this message. And I'm a big advocate. I really used to like listening to Paul Harvey. He had a show on called
Right.
the rest Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. Share the rest of the story of the successes and milestones that you've reached because somebody else has impacted your life, and that is how we grow together in community. So, Dr. Lynn, thanks for being here. Our audience, thank you for being here. And as I close every episode with this reminder, always, always, always strive to do the right thing at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons. Until next time, love you, be safe, be strong, be bigger and bolder.